Thanks for tuning in to Operation Revenge. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's begin the story.
My name is Maya Darnell. I'm 34 years old, and I've spent the last decade building a career as a forensic accountant in the Department of Financial Security, DFS. At least I used to be. Now I'm sitting on a private jet en route to a high-security economic summit. I'm surrounded by top-tier executives, analysts, and enforcement officials from the G20, and yet no one seems to care. I'm here. I'm seated in the back of the plane, next to a cold, metallic server array that hums quietly, its lights blinking in the dim cabin. The only people who seem to acknowledge my presence are the flight attendants who hand me a drink. The moment I board, my mind races with the quiet storm brewing inside me. The invitation was a courtesy, nothing more. They don't know it, but I'm here to prove something. But the real reason I'm on this flight? To face Cassandra Darnell, my older sister, the decorated International Tax Enforcement Commander for the DFS. She's made her name in this world, climbing ranks with a ruthless precision, taking no prisoners along the way. That's exactly what she did with me, though, in a far more personal sense. I can hear her before I see her. The unmistakable tone of her voice carries across the cabin as she laughs with a group of high-ranking passengers. "Oh, it's just Maya," she says with a sharp, dismissive edge. "The calculator with legs." The laughter that follows isn't loud, but it's enough to sting, a reminder of the animosity that has lingered between us for years. I try not to let it get to me, but the words slice through the stale air like a cold knife. It's not the first time she said something like that. It's the reason she and I stopped talking years ago, after I was framed for a data breach that I didn't commit, a scandal that she helped create. I take my seat at the back, near the servers, away from the crowd. It's fitting in a way. Cassandra, the golden child, sits in the front, surrounded by her colleagues, her allies. Me? I'm relegated to the shadows, a footnote in a story no one cares to hear. It's fine. I'm used to it. A few minutes later, the cabin begins to hum with the soft buzz of quiet conversations and the distant clink of glasses. My mind shifts back to the upcoming summit. But as I glance up at the overhead displays, I notice something strange. A flicker of static, followed by a subtle, almost imperceptible glitch in the telemetry systems. I focus, my heart quickening. This isn't normal. The flight systems stutter for just a moment, but it's enough for me to catch it. It's barely noticeable to the pilots and the passengers, but to me, it's a red flag. Instinct kicks in. I've seen this before. Back when I was still Ledger, when my encryption skills were revered, before everything was ripped away from me. I tap the interface on my personal device, overriding the automatic connection to the in-flight system. The diagnostics run. The results? Telemetry data is being rerouted subtly. Nothing major, yet, but I'm not about to ignore it. I'm the only one who's caught it. I glance over my shoulder at Cassandra, who is still holding court at the front of the plane, oblivious to what's happening in the skies above. This is no random glitch. It's deliberate, and I'm certain of it now. The flight systems have been compromised. For the first time in a long while, I feel that familiar surge of adrenaline, that pulse of purpose. I might not be part of the inner circle anymore, but this is something I know better than anyone on this plane, and whatever's happening up here, I'll be the one to stop it. The plane is quiet again, but my thoughts are racing. The telemetry systems have been compromised. That much is clear. As I sit there, watching the flight attendants bustle about, my fingers are tapping out calculations and diagnostics on my tablet. But just as I feel myself sinking deeper into the problem, an emergency override blinks across the internal network. Get me Ledger, now. The name hits me like a punch to the gut. Ledger, the name I was known by, back when I was still part of the Department of Financial Security, back when I was good at my job, before everything crashed down around me, before Cassandra ensured that I would never wear that title again. I freeze. I feel a sick twist in my stomach as the words pulse on the screen. My old call sign. I haven't been called Ledger in years. Not since the scandal. Not since Cassandra and the others decided it was easier to throw me under the bus than to protect someone they thought was a threat. I hear the voice again, louder now, booming across the cabin. Ledger, get her now. Cassandra, she's the one who just called me out. I glance toward the front of the plane where she's sitting, still surrounded by her colleagues, her image as pristine as ever. Her eyes are scanning the monitors, but for a split second, they lock with mine. There's no recognition in her gaze, just disdain. She's trying to keep her cool, but something's off. Her face pales when she realizes who they're referring to. I don't give her another second of my attention. Instead, I stand, pushing my chair back with calculated slowness, as if I'm moving through molasses. My legs feel like lead as I walk down the narrow aisle, the stares of the passengers grazing my back. But I don't care. There is only one thing that matters now. The plane. I pass Cassandra without a word. There's no need to acknowledge her. Not now. Not after everything. The cockpit door is just ahead. I reach for the handle, and with a soft click, it opens. The pilots are sitting there, both of them focused on their instruments. They barely glance up when I step inside. Ledger? One of them asks, his voice edged with disbelief. They know who I am, but they aren't prepared to see me in this place. I don't bother to explain. They don't need an introduction. They need a solution. I take a seat beside the co-pilot, immediately tapping into the system. The script they show me is familiar, far too familiar. It's a countdown, and it's ticking down toward an unknown event. The pattern of the code is recursive, disguised as something it's not, wrapped up in layers of outdated encryption. I swallow a curse. This is my old work, the same work I was punished for, the same work that Cassandra helped destroy. It's a bastardized version of the system I built years ago for secure ledger correction protocols. The signature is unmistakable. It's my work, twisted, manipulated, and now being used to hijack this plane. The attackers are smart. They've covered their tracks, embedded the script deep within the system, but they've used a version of my own algorithm against me. They are trying to reroute this flight, not to crash, not yet, but to erase it from radar, to send it into economic airspace limbo. Someone's playing a game here, but it's not the kind of game they think it is. I run a diagnostic, isolating the corrupted sections of the code. I recognize the structure immediately. This is personal. Whoever is behind this has intimate knowledge of my early work. This isn't just a hack, it's a message. I lean forward, focusing on the countdown. My mind flashes back to the cold, calculating days when I was Ledger, before they erased me. The memories are painful, but they are also useful. I can shut this down, I say, my voice low but steady. The pilots exchange a glance. They don't argue. Instead, they sit back, giving me space. I plug into the cockpit system interface, my fingers flying over the keys as I work with precision. I recognize the signatures in the code. Each line is a part of a plan to disappear, to bury the plane, and the people on board. I can't let that happen. I isolate the reroute commands, hunting for the manipulations buried deep within the architecture. Each algorithm I break down feels like a small victory, but the final piece is the hardest. The countdown is down to seconds. But I freeze, staring at the final line of code. There's something else hidden here, a ghost in the machine. I recognize it now. An old protocol, one I never thought I'd see again. A failsafe I designed years ago, when the system needed extra layers of security. I built it for ledger corrections, for when tampered data needed to be corrected in real time. And now, it's the key to stopping this. It's my work, my final act of defiance. I breathe out a shaky exhale and trigger the override. The countdown halts. The flight systems stabilize. For a long moment, there is silence. The pilots stare at the screens, their faces slowly softening with disbelief. They turn to me, gratitude and shock mingling in their expressions. "Thank you," one of them murmurs. But my eyes are already scanning the telemetry again. The foreign signal is gone, but the damage is far from over. I've stopped the flight from disappearing, but the real battle has just begun. Cassandra doesn't know it yet, but I've just exposed a message meant for me. And now, the game is on. The cockpit hums with the sound of the plane's system stabilizing, but the tension in the air is palpable. I sit at the co-pilot station, staring at the terminal, eyes darting from line to line, focusing on the last few seconds before the threat is fully neutralized. The countdown, which had been ticking toward disaster, is now frozen. The threat has been halted, but it isn't over. Not yet. I pull up the command window and begin a final sweep, isolating every possible part of the hijack code. The pilot watches me with a combination of awe and disbelief, but I'm not concerned with that right now. There's only one thing that matters, making sure the plane doesn't fall into the wrong hands. My fingers fly over the keys as I call up the failsafe system from my encrypted drive. 10 algorithmic lines. That's all it takes. 10 simple lines of code, carefully placed like an invisible safety net beneath the broken system. I route the data to quarantine, cutting off all external connections that might feed into the attack. The data is isolated. The plane's systems are stable again. I breathe, just for a moment, allowing myself the smallest of sighs. The attack has been neutralized, but I can't shake the gnawing feeling that I've only just uncovered part of the picture. Everything's stable, the pilot says, his voice still tinged with disbelief. I nod. Yeah, for now, but we need to trace the source. I turn back to the screens, diving deeper into the network's architecture. The telemetry feed is clear now, but there's something else, something hiding beneath the surface. As I isolate and lock down the last of the foreign signals, I notice a subtle, creeping line of code, embedded into the system like an uninvited guest. It's a fragment from my own early sandbox architecture, a set of raw builds that only someone familiar with my past could have known. But this isn't just any signature, it's mine, but twisted. I didn't build this. Not like this. Someone's been using my old work, I murmur to myself. It's clear now, this wasn't just a hack. This was a message. I trace the signature to its origin, running the code through a system check. The structure is eerily familiar, recursive, like a mirror image of something I once designed. My heart races. The final piece clicks into place. Cassandra, I whisper to myself, though the name feels like a bitter taste in my mouth. It's too much of a coincidence. The code, the back door, the intimate knowledge of my designs. The signal, the one that almost buried this plane, wasn't just created by anyone. It was made by someone who had access to the same raw builds I had once worked on, someone with insider knowledge. The deeper I dig, the clearer it becomes. My sister, Cassandra, I pull up her name in the system, her clearance levels, her sign-offs, all the way down the line. Every officer, every command, every action connected to this event has passed through her hands. I let out a shaky breath. She knew. She had to know. The implications slam into me like a freight train. Not only had she helped bury me all those years ago, but now it's clear she's been part of this all along. She's been playing a different game, one with much higher stakes than I had realized, a game where people, real lives, were pawns. This isn't about the plane, not really. It's about something much bigger, something I can't even begin to fathom. But I know one thing for sure now. Someone used my code to hide the truth. Someone who had a deep understanding of what I could do. I stand from my seat, my head spinning, the weight of the revelation pulling me in all directions. Cassandra didn't just ruin my career. She's now part of something much darker. The cockpit door opens slightly. I look up to see the co-pilot's anxious face. Is everything okay? He asks, his voice tentative, unsure. I can barely manage a smile. Yeah, I'm just finishing up here. I stare back at the monitor. The threat's been neutralized for now, but I know this isn't over. I have the data I need, and Cassandra's role in this is clearer than ever. I'm going to have to confront her, but not yet. For now, I focus on the screens, making sure the plane stays on course. But deep down, I know the real battle has just begun. 2 years ago, I was dragged into a scandal that had me reeling. It wasn't a loud public affair, no cameras, no grand gestures. But the damage was just as devastating. The DFS, the agency I had dedicated my life to, revoked my clearance after I was framed for something I didn't do. I remember the exact moment they found my encrypted credentials linked to scrubbed bank logs, the anomaly that triggered an investigation, a scandal that would bury me. It wasn't supposed to be me. It wasn't supposed to be anyone. But Cassandra, she made sure it was me. She flagged the anomaly. She reported the irregularities, and I became the fall guy. I had spent years building a reputation, working silently, tirelessly in the background. But it all came crashing down, in a way I never imagined. I was accused of data laundering, tied to funds I didn't touch, accounts I didn't manipulate. But once the DFS zeroed in on me, the whispers began. The investigations, the internal audits, the doubts. And Cassandra? She stood by, helping the investigation along, her steady hand guiding the team toward me. I don't know if she saw it as protecting the agency or if there was something deeper there, maybe a need to see me fall from a pedestal she herself had never let me climb. Maybe she resented the fact that I was always the quiet one, the one who never wanted power, who just worked. The night after I was removed from the DFS, I stood at the edge of a cliff, figuratively and literally. A week later, I received an anonymous envelope. There was a simple, chilling note inside. They needed a fall. She gave them a sister. I didn't need to wonder who she was. That envelope sent me spiraling into exile. I left everything behind and took a post in an offshore compliance outpost in the Arctic Circle. It was as far away from everyone as I could get, a place that felt like the edge of the world. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't even want to be found. For a year, I was alone with my thoughts, my isolation, a reflection of the betrayal I couldn't shake. But then, a letter arrived. It wasn't just any letter. It was an invitation. From Cassandra. I almost tore it up without reading it, but the words burned in my hands. She wrote about the upcoming summit, about diplomatic inclusion, and how important it was for me to be there. She said nothing of the years that passed, of the silence between us. No apology, no recognition of what had happened. But I knew why she had sent it. She wanted something. Evidence, most likely. An invitation extended to make sure I wasn't a threat anymore. But I wasn't returning for her, not for reconciliation. I was returning for one thing: evidence. Proof of her betrayal, proof of what had happened to me and who had orchestrated it. I agreed to attend, not for her, but for the justice I had been denied for so long. I didn't know what I would find, but I knew I had to confront her, and finally, face the truth. As I boarded the plane for the summit, I didn't feel any sense of closure. There was no satisfaction in the decision. There was only the weight of what I knew was coming. The showdown. Cassandra and me, face to face, with all the lies and secrets between us. And when I walked through that door, I was going to find the truth. Even if it meant exposing her, even if it meant exposing myself. Back in the cockpit, I sit, my fingers flying over the keys, eyes darting between lines of code and telemetry data. I trace the exfiltration path, the false trajectory that nearly derailed this flight, my mind processing every piece of data at lightning speed. As I dive deeper into the system, the weight of what I'm seeing begins to settle in. The reroute was not a crash attempt, not sabotage as I initially feared. It was something far more calculated. This was a courier run. I pull up the telemetry packets one by one. Each packet contains fragments of high-security data, global financial vault coordinates, shell companies, black site accounts, and secured funds tied to multinational sanctions and covert state deals. A cold shiver runs down my spine as the realization hits. This plane wasn't the target. It was the vessel. The data, the real payload, was hidden inside the fake flight data, masked by the very encryption I had designed years ago. The attackers weren't trying to crash the plane. They were using it to smuggle deeply classified financial intelligence across borders. The flight itself was a decoy. I scrubbed through the packets, isolating key coordinates tied to these funds. They lead to ghost nodes, transfer drop points for confidential economic intelligence, encrypted and almost untraceable. The level of sophistication is unnerving. Whoever is behind this has vast resources. They've hijacked the entire flight, rerouting the data streams under the radar. As I continue to work through the system, I know I'm running out of time. The plane's trajectory might be stabilized for now, but the smuggling operation is still running in the background, hidden within the system. The true scale of this theft is just beginning to unfold. I pull up the final node, a distant digital destination marked only as Black Vault. It's a dummy address, meant to throw off anyone who might be looking for the data. But what it hides is clear: stolen economic intelligence, siphoned from the world's most secure vaults and accounts. A wave of disbelief washes over me. This is bigger than I ever imagined. The plane itself is merely the messenger. The real crime is being orchestrated with such skill that not even the highest security systems have caught it. Whoever is behind this knows how to move undetected, to cover their tracks in ways that would baffle even the most skilled forensic analysts. My hand hovers over the system interface. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I pull up my own encrypted backup, an old security protocol I built years ago, when I was still Ledger. It's a failsafe to catch the very kind of operation I'm witnessing now. It was built to track and isolate any covert data transmission that tried to hide in plain sight. I activate the protocol, watching as the system begins to pull the data back into quarantine, severing the connection between the ghost node and the stolen intelligence. It's a small victory, but it's enough to throw the attackers off balance. The cockpit door opens behind me, and one of the pilots steps in, his face pale. Is it over?" he asks, disbelief in his voice. I nod slowly, my eyes glued to the screen. For now. But we're not done yet. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg. The pilot exhales, the weight of the moment sinking in. I didn't know it was this big. No one does, I reply, tapping a few more lines of code to lock down the connection. But now we know what they were after. The plane was never the target. It was the data. I lean back, the adrenaline still surging through my veins, and for a moment, I let myself breathe. The immediate danger has passed, but the full extent of the conspiracy is still out there, waiting to be unraveled. As I turn to leave the cockpit, the pilot follows me with his eyes. Who do you think is behind this? I stop for a moment, my gaze drifting toward the back of the plane, where Cassandra sits, still surrounded by her colleagues, still playing the perfect diplomat. I feel the familiar bitter taste of resentment on my tongue, but I swallow it down. There's no time for that now. I turn back to the pilot and offer a grim smile. The question isn't who's behind it, it's who's protecting it. And as the final logs of the operation are contained and isolated, I know that the true story has yet to be told. The attacker's message wasn't just hidden in the code, it was meant for me. And I'm about to answer it. I sit back in my seat, scanning the cabin once again, my focus shifting between the data logs and the physical space around me. My eyes flicker to the monitors embedded in the walls, the thermal imaging overlays that allow me to scan the entire plane for any irregularities. I need to find the source of the data transmission. The young officer posing as an IT assistant sits too quietly for my liking. He's too clean, too composed, a stark contrast to the disorganized chaos around him. He's seated just behind Cassandra, his foot nearly brushing the data node that's been transmitting stolen information. Something about him doesn't sit right with me. My gut tightens as I pinpoint his location. He's near the relay. He's too close. His every movement is calculated, deliberate, and that makes him a target. He's hiding something. I focus in on him, my pulse quickening. I can't afford to be wrong. This is my one shot to stop whatever he's doing before it's too late. I adjust the settings on my interface, tightening the surveillance grid and honing in on his every motion. He's fiddling with something beneath his seat, moving too fast for a casual passenger. He knows what I'm doing. He's trying to get rid of evidence. Without hesitation, I make my move. I push out of my seat, walking down the aisle toward him. His eyes flick up for a split second, but he doesn't seem worried. Maybe he's confident, thinking no one will catch him. I'm counting on that. I reach him just as his hand flies to crush something small under the seat. A device, likely a transmitter. Hey, I snap, grabbing his wrist just before his hand makes contact. He jerks back, startled, but I'm not giving him a chance to flee. I twist his wrist and pull him upright, making sure his legs are pinned to the seat. His eyes widen in fear, but there's something off about his expression. There's a coldness in his eyes that doesn't scream panic. It screams experience. You're not who you say you are, I mutter under my breath. With a swift motion, I disable the device he was attempting to hide, securing the relay transmitter. The moment it's in my hands, I can feel the weight of its contents. The data. The stolen data. It was being funneled through this device, sent to another location, another ghost node. He makes a desperate attempt to get away, but I pull him back down into his seat, my hand gripping his arm tightly. Stay put, I warn. In a panic, he mutters, "You don't know who you're protecting." His words are chilling, like a cryptic message only he understands. Shut up, I growl, securing his hands behind his back with a tight set of cuffs. The air around us feels thick with tension. He's been caught, but his silence says more than words ever could. I drag him out into the aisle, where two flight attendants are already looking at me with wide, uncertain eyes. I nod toward the back of the plane, signaling them to call for security. They take him away, escorting him down the narrow hallway. His gaze never leaves me. The expression on his face isn't fear, it's acceptance. Something's wrong. I glance back toward the cockpit, but my mind is still racing. What did he mean by protecting? Was he talking about someone else on board? Someone higher up? Cassandra's unflinching gaze catches mine as I turn, and I see the subtle flicker of something in her eyes. A recognition, maybe, but not fear. No, it's not fear. It's acceptance. She knew. She knew what was going on. She's been part of this, maybe not in a direct way, but she's been complicit. The realization hits me with a rush of dread. Cassandra had approved this operation. She had to have. She had to have known what was happening under her watch. I watch as the security team escorts the mole out, and I know deep down, this isn't just about the stolen data anymore. It's about something far darker, something Cassandra has been shielding. The plane goes silent. The weight of what just happened hangs over me like a fog. The mole has been exposed, but I'm no closer to the truth. And Cassandra? She's watching, not surprised, not fearful, just accepting. I turn back toward the cockpit, the gravity of the situation pulling at me like an anchor. There's no going back now. The plane is no longer just a vessel. It's a symbol of a conspiracy. And Cassandra? She's at the heart of it. It's time to face her. The moment I isolated the last of the hostile code, I was ready to breathe. The foreign signal was cut off, the plane's trajectory back on track. But as I sat there, scanning the final packet logs, I felt a twinge of unease. There was something else, something I couldn't ignore. I scrolled through the final cache, and there it is, hidden deep in the transmission, a data tag. It's faint, almost imperceptible at first glance, but something about it makes my stomach tighten. I run the code through a decryption tool, my eyes fixed on the screen. The tag pulls up fragments from my own backup, the old sandbox code I had written years ago, the one I thought was long buried in archives no one had access to. But the syntax? It's off. There's something strange embedded within it, something deprecated, a method I stopped using years ago, a signature from my earliest days in DFS. I know this code. No one should have this version. I built it in my early years as a test structure. The code was raw, unfinished, something no one outside of a handful of people would ever remember, let alone use. But someone did. Someone with intimate knowledge of my past. The thought hits me like a punch to the gut. There's only one person who could have resurrected this outdated method. Cassandra. I close my eyes for a moment, trying to keep the anger at bay. The realization is bitter. The truth I've been avoiding is now staring me in the face. Cassandra knew. She always knew. With steady hands, I pull up her access logs, tracing every signature, every line of clearance she's signed off on over the years. Every officer, every command, every file related to this flight has passed through her hands. She's been involved at every level. I can't ignore it anymore. I rise from my seat, feeling the weight of everything I've just uncovered. It's time. I make my way to the cockpit door, pushing it open with a sense of finality. The pilots look at me, their faces still pale from the close call, but I'm no longer concerned with them. I turn, walking toward Cassandra, who is standing at the far end of the cabin. She doesn't look up when I approach. Her attention is still absorbed by the conversations with her colleagues, the same cold detachment that has always been there. I stop in front of her. The air between us feels thick with years of silence, the weight of everything unspoken hanging like a veil. Cassandra, I say, my voice steady but raw. She looks up then, her gaze sharp and calculating. There's no surprise in her eyes, just cold recognition. It's almost like she was waiting for this moment. You've been behind it all, haven't you? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. But the accusation is clear. Her eyes narrow, just the faintest flicker of something dark in her gaze. She doesn't deny it. Not in the way you think, she replies, her voice calm, almost rehearsed. I didn't mean to erase you, Maya, but you always walked into rooms I had to break down. You didn't even want the power you had. Her words cut deeper than I expected. The venom laced in them, the truth behind them, is sharper than any accusation. I feel the weight of every moment we've spent apart crashing down on me. You used my code, I say, the words tasting bitter as they leave my mouth. You used it to bury this plane, to smuggle data, the same code that got me fired, the same code you erased me for. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she says, almost regretfully. But you were never part of the plan, Maya. You never understood what it took to play this game. Her admission stings, but it also clarifies everything. She had seen me as a threat all along, not because of my skills, but because of what I represented, a quiet force she couldn't control, someone who walked into rooms she had to break down. I've been fighting the wrong battle. The fight isn't just about saving the plane or stopping the data from getting out. The fight is about her, about everything she's done to me, to the system we built together. You've been using my legacy for years, Cassandra, I say, the finality in my words settling over us both. And now it's time to end it. She doesn't flinch, doesn't seem afraid. There's no fear in her face, only acceptance. She knew this day would come, and now, so do I. The pattern repeats, just like it always has. Cassandra was never the protector of the system she swore to uphold. She was always the one pulling the strings in the dark, and I've finally caught her. Back in the cockpit, the plane hums steadily, the systems finally stable. I take a moment to breathe, the weight of the last few hours pressing on me. The immediate danger has passed, but I can feel the tension in my chest. There's one more thing to do. I dive back into the system, scanning the remaining logs. The data flow is calm now, but my fingers hover above the interface, sensing something I missed. The last packet, the final one, is still live, and I know it holds the key to everything. I run the data through one last validation sequence, eyes scanning the screen with laser focus. As I dig deeper, I realize something alarming. The packet contains an embedded self-deletion protocol. If the data isn't fully delivered within 6 hours, all of it will be wiped. The logs, the vault coordinates, everything, gone. Just like that. But there's something else hidden in this protocol. My own backup. My breath catches as I recognize it. The full archive of stolen data is here, tucked away in my forgotten backup, the only full copy still intact. Everything, from the black site accounts to the covert transactions, all encrypted and hidden behind layers of code. I feel the weight of it. This is the last copy, the only proof that any of this ever happened. I glance at the time, less than 4 hours left before the data is lost forever. A surge of determination courses through me. This isn't just about saving the plane anymore. This is about saving myself, my reputation, and taking back everything that was stolen from me. I can't let this data vanish. Not after everything that's happened. I pull up the DFS director's secure uplink. The screen flickers to life, the connection solidifying. I have just enough time to negotiate, to strike the deal that will clear my name. Director Avery, I say, keeping my voice level. I have the full data archive. It's the last copy, and it's set to self-delete in under 4 hours. A brief pause, the screen freezing before him. He knows what this means. I can see the gears turning in his mind. Is it intact? He asks, his voice tight. Every byte, I confirm, but I need a deal. The weight of this moment is not lost on me. It could be my chance for redemption, but it's not about fame or recognition. It's about justice, restoring my name and making sure this investigation doesn't turn into another scapegoat campaign. Avery sighs, his face tight with tension. What do you want, Maya? No medals, no reinstatement. I want a full internal investigation. No cover-ups, no blind eyes. I'm not asking for my job back. I'm asking for a system that works, one that doesn't leave people like me in the dust. There's a long silence on the other end. For a moment, I wonder if I've pushed too hard, if I've asked for too much. But then, his voice comes through again, quieter but resolute. Done. We'll flag Cassandra. We'll dig deeper. But I need those logs. I hesitate, my eyes locked on the screen, knowing this is the moment. I'll deliver them, I reply, but this isn't just about her. It's about what's been festering under the surface for years. The rot. It's bigger than we thought. Avery nods silently, understanding the gravity of my words. Understood. We'll start the investigation immediately. I disconnect the call, my heart hammering in my chest. The data, the truth, is finally in the right hands. And now I have leverage. No one can erase me anymore. I stand up from my seat, glancing back at the rest of the plane. The weight of everything that's happened, the betrayal, the lies, it's all behind me now. I take one last look at Cassandra, still surrounded by her colleagues, her expression unreadable. She has no idea what's coming. I'm not just the fall guy anymore. I'm the one holding the last piece of the puzzle. I leave the cockpit and step into the cabin, walking toward the back of the plane. My mission isn't over, but this is the last step. I've done what I came to do. I watch the final packet of stolen data make its way safely into the hands of those who will use it for the truth. The ghosts of Ledger, of the person I used to be, are finally dissipating. The weight of the past is no longer mine to carry. The investigation is just beginning. But I know one thing for sure. My name will be cleared, and the system I helped build will be stronger because of it. For the first time in years, I feel the ghosts of my past receding into the distance. There's no more war. Just Maya. The plane touches down with a gentle hum, the wheels kissing the tarmac in a way that feels final, like a page turning in a book. The cabin is quiet, the usual post-landing bustle of passengers unhurried. I stand, but no one notices. No one celebrates the fact that the plane hasn't disappeared into the ether. No one acknowledges the magnitude of what I've just done. I prefer it that way. I step into the aisle, my eyes scanning the now empty cabin. My heart still beats a little faster from the adrenaline, but it's a different feeling now. There's no elation. There's only the quiet hum of a job done, and the realization that this is the last time I'll be part of something like this. Internal affairs moves quickly. The mole is dragged away first, subdued by the security team as they lead him down the aisle, his face a mix of disbelief and defiance. They don't speak to him, just drag him off the plane like an afterthought. Cassandra is the next to go. The two officers who come for her are polite but firm, their expressions giving nothing away. She stands slowly, not looking at me, but I feel the weight of her gaze lingering on my back as she walks past. Her face is unreadable, but I can see the tension in her shoulders. She has nothing left to fight with now. They escort her off the plane without ceremony. No arrest, no accusations, just a quiet removal. The world doesn't know the truth yet, but it will soon. I take my time, walking slowly down the aisle toward the door. I don't look back. I don't need to. I've done what I came to do, and now it's over. Once I'm on the tarmac, I'm met with the standard quiet protocol. No press, no applause, no recognition. It's like I'm invisible, and I like it that way. I walk alone through the terminal, the hum of voices around me fading into the background. My footsteps echo in the sterile space, each one marking the end of something. The end of ledger, the end of the shame, the end of the fight. Back in my temporary flat, the weight of it all hits me. I sink into a chair, staring out the window at the city below, the lights flickering like tiny stars scattered across the dark landscape. I should feel relief. I should feel victorious. But all I feel is exhaustion. The fight has been long, and now the quiet aftermath is settling in. I pull up the investigation files. They start to flood in. Names flagged, chains of access traced, connections exposed. It's all coming to light just like it should. The rot has already started to rise to the surface. The pieces are falling into place. I've handed over the last copy of the data. There will be an investigation, a thorough one. Cassandra will be flagged, and the net will widen. But there's no need for me to stick around. I don't need medals. I don't need reinstatement. I just needed to clear my name, to make sure that the truth was seen, even if it wasn't me who got the credit. A message pings on my phone, and I glance at it, my chest tightening as I see it's from Cassandra. The words are brief, but they land with a strange sense of finality. You won. You deserve to. I don't reply. There's nothing left to say. Nothing that can change the past or the way we are now. There's no forgiveness here, not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't need her to ask for it. Forgiveness doesn't require them to ask. It's a choice. One I'll have to make when I'm ready. Instead, I open a new document on my phone and type a journal entry. Something simple. Something that has no weight or expectation. Forgiveness doesn't require them to ask, but it has to be real enough for you to let go. I sit there, staring at the words for a long time, letting them sink in. The ghosts of Ledger, of the person I used to be, are starting to fade. My name is being restored quietly, without fanfare, and that's enough for me. I close the document, lock the phone, and place it on the table. The world will go on. Cassandra will face the consequences of her actions, and I'll keep walking forward. I've won. Not in the way I expected, but in the only way that truly matters. I'm done fighting, and now I'm free. Scene 10. A flight with no shadows. A week later, I board a commercial flight, my own name on the ticket. There's no mission, no title, no purpose but to go home, to simply exist without the weight of the past hanging over me. I take my seat, letting the hum of the plane fill my ears. The sky outside the window is endless, the clouds drifting by like the remnants of the past. The air around me is light, unburdened. A quiet man passes by in the aisle, his eyes lingering on me for a moment before he gives a small nod. Ledger, he whispers, but not with suspicion or curiosity. There's respect in his voice, a silent acknowledgement of something long gone. I don't respond. There's no need to. I nod once, just a small gesture, before turning my gaze back out the window. I don't need to relive it. Not anymore. The war behind me fades as the plane climbs higher into the sky, and I realize that for the first time in a long time, I'm not carrying the weight of anyone else's expectations. I'm not the erased sister anymore. I'm just Maya, and that's finally enough. The clouds drift by, and I let the peace settle in. My silence is honored. My name is restored. This is where I begin again. The low hum of the commercial flight is nothing like the tense, high-security summit jet I was just on. There are no hushed conversations or hidden agendas, no lingering threats lurking in the air. just the soft murmur of passengers going about their mundane travel, the kind of calm that feels so foreign after everything I've been through. I'm in a window seat, my ticket under my real name for the first time in a long while. No fake titles, no hidden motives. Just me, Maya, nothing else. The sky outside is vast, endless, and as the plane climbs higher, I feel the weight of everything I've carried for so long start to lift. The ghosts of Ledger, the betrayal of Cassandra, the shame that once clung to me like a second skin, they all start to fade, dissolving in the sheer peace of the moment. A man walks down the aisle, his eyes catching mine for a brief second. He's dressed simply, unassuming. He passes by, then pauses. His eyes linger for a moment longer, and I hear him whisper, "Ledger." It's not with suspicion or judgment, but with a kind of quiet respect, almost like he knows something I don't need to explain, something I don't need to relive. He says it like a nod to a past that doesn't need to be resurrected, a quiet acknowledgement of what I once was. I don't respond, though I feel the pull of that old name in the air, tempting me to speak, to explain, but I don't need to. There's no reason to relive it anymore. I just give him a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement that we share something but don't need to unpack it. He moves on, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I turn back to the window, letting the clouds drift by, the soft, cool blue of the sky stretching endlessly in front of me. I can see the faint outline of the earth below, the cities, the roads, the lives that continue without me. But in this moment, I feel untethered from it all. My past, my name, the woman I used to be, they feel distant now, as if they belong to someone else. I no longer need the weight of Ledger, of the years of fighting, of the woman I was forced to become to survive. I'm not the erased sister anymore. I'm just Maya. A quiet peace settles in my chest, and I realize that, for the first time in a long time, it's enough. The war is behind me. My name is restored. No recognition, no celebration, just a quiet, personal victory, the kind that doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. I lean back in my seat, my eyes closing for a moment, the hum of the plane and the soft murmurs of the other passengers grounding me in the present. I've done what I needed to do. I've cleared my name, exposed the rot, and walked away without a word. There's no need for anything else. And as the plane cuts through the clouds, I let myself drift away from the ghosts of the past, knowing that this is the moment when I finally get to choose who I am. I'm no longer the sister who was erased. I'm just Maya, and for the first time, that feels like everything.